This episode of RFK Refugees is brought to you by Pitch Invaders. Pitch Invaders wants to remind you the pitch is for the people. They are the ultimate apparel destination tailored for the soccer community. Use code VAMOS for an exclusive 15% discount on all purchases at pitchinvadersusa.com. That's pitchinvadersusa.com. And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFK Refugees Podcast. Ted here, John here to break down all of the DC United action that happened this week, and also Washington Spirit action. There was a lot of soccer action. John, man, there's just so much soccer, so much of it.
Too much, some might say.
Too much, some might say. This was an international break, so we did get a little bit of break from club-based soccer, from leagues that are, smart enough to realize that maybe you don't want teams rolling out with 15 players and 4 field substitutions, but we'll get into that in a minute. First, John, how you doing, my friend? How was your weekend? I hope it was restful. I know you were traveling and also doing multiple interviews for the show and content. And
yeah, man, trying to keep it valuable for those Patreon subscribers. Patreon.com/RFK Refugees. Pretty good, man. I saw Ghostbusters this weekend. That was cool.
Nice.
I went to a art museum. That was fun. This next coming weekend, I have two egg hunts in one day, and then the Spirit game on Sunday on Easter.
Nice.
So that's my busy weekend coming up. How about you? What'd you get into?
I really was kind of a slow week. I'll be traveling to Richmond next weekend, so wanted to keep it light. I was gonna go out and referee, but it rained the night before, and so the game I was supposed to referee got canceled because I don't think they want people messing up the grass fields out there. So, and there's not a whole lot of turf fields out here in Lynchburg, Virginia to utilize.
Are the Kickers in town next weekend?
They are not, unfortunately.
Bummer.
So missed effort there, but it's fine. There. I look at the schedule. There'll be plenty of games coming up. So the Henny Derby will be July 3rd. So the day before July 4th. So
I kind of
highlighted that. So yeah. All right. All right, let's get into it before I embarrass myself anymore about saying dates that are obvious.
Christmas Eve is in fact one day before Christmas.
Let's talk DC United. DC United going out a 2-2 draw against St. Louis. A game I think we talked about before that. We talked about beginning of the show. This was going to be a tough game, and I think we're all wondering the pre-match interview. I was kind of wondering, okay, well, who's going to be back? There was some talk about, Garrison Tubbs and, Russell Canouse, and the response in the pre-match press conference from Troy Lesesne was, yeah, no one's going to be back. We're going to have to get creative. And they got creative. Steve Bourbon, apparently there's no timetable now set on his recovery. He's apparently behind schedule as far as his recovery. So we'll wait and see on that front. Thank goodness Christopher McVeigh and Lucas Bartlett have been so good, because otherwise this would be a much different conversation.
Right. Ryan Kiefer has been dunking on those of us who are making fun of the Connor Antley pickup in the preseason, which, I'll own that one. I'm right about some things. I'm wrong about others. I'm clearly wrong about this one. He seems to fit right in.
I might have been joining you a little bit in the joking, but I was also like, hey, I mean, everybody's telling me he looks good. And, I saw some good things from certain people. So I do my research, John. Okay.
Sure. Sometimes you get addicted to the contrarian feeling, like everyone saying Pirani was good and me saying, in fact, no, he is not good.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know. Sometimes you hit it. Sometimes you miss it.
Well, I wouldn't say he was perfect into this game. We'll get into that in a little bit. But, so basically DC rolls out. Lineup comes out. The graphic was a little weird. I think it had Antley as a center back and McVeigh out left. And I'm like, I really hope that's not the case, because I think that maybe negates a little bit of what DC tries to do. Very clear in the game, this team they shifted to a 3-5-2. So it was Antley, McVeigh, Bartlett as your sort of center backs. Antley sort of had the freedom to kind of maybe push up or roam a little bit when they were on the press. Christian Dajome out there as sort of kind of a left wing back, and then Jared Stroud also out there as sort of a right wing back. You had your two holding midfielders in Mateus Glick and Jackson Hopkins, and then of course you had Pirani as sort of your number 10, maybe shifting into a forward. We'll get in that a little bit. Another kind of listless performance from Gabriel Pirani.
Mm.
And then your two forwards, Tekudi Pietro and Christian Benteke. So DC very much looking at, and I saw this move that they made, and I said, this makes sense. I had seen in the game against LA, this team is very, very susceptible to wide play. So getting the ball out wide, pushing it out wide, I thought was going to be a recipe for success for this team. And that's why I didn't want sort of, I think some people in the chat were like, well, let's put McVay out left, so we're strong defensively. And I'm like, no, man, if we want to win this game, if we want to be competitive, we gotta go at them a little bit. I think you play wide, you hit that wide area, and you will have success, because that's what the LA Galaxy did. They had 2 or 3 goals where they sort of did quick sort of passing play and just kind of very much broke down St. Louis. This is certainly a decent team. I think if DC's at full strength, they walk out of here with 3 points. I firmly believe that. The expected goals will tell you this was maybe an even game or a close game, or maybe slightly leaning towards St. Louis. I will tell you that in the penalty kick brings a lot of expected goals to the mark. This team sat around a goal. I saw 0.6, I think, on FootMob of sort of open play XG. The goals came from a free kick and a penalty kick. So I thought DC was the better side in this game. I thought they were dictating how this game was going to be played, and they were extremely effective. I guess let's get to the goals. There was a little bit, maybe some uneasiness in the beginning, with Bono making kind of a couple little mistakes as he was trying to sort of play the ball. DC unfortunately wasn't punished. Then there was the set piece. I think Benteke maybe gets a little bit of the knock. He's technically maybe supposed to be marking. He is sort of the biggest guy out there, so you're going to stick him on that back line and try to have him mark. And he loses Yarrow sort of in the box, right in the middle of the box. Header goes in the back of the net, but then there's just kind of this immediate response from the team. It was like literally you could hear the announcer like actively like telling I think talking about like the goal scorer for St. Louis as the ball was in the back of the net for DC. Like that's how quickly this thing went. I don't think they had time to really show replays. We really didn't see it until the replay was there. It was a ball out to Connor Antley, who plays a excellent ball into space over to Mateus Click. Mateus Click, nice little chip ball over to Jared Stroud, wide open on the right side. He plays a absolutely like piercing hard cross right into Benteke's head. It's an excellent save by Berkey, but who's right there? Tekudi Pietro, who comes up and is just right there, Johnny on the spot, buries the ball in the back of the net. Good to see him get a goal, I think. I thought, again, he showed, I won't say he's 100% there yet, but there were times where he got the ball in the dribble. He was able to beat guys on the dribble. I'm not sure this is a game that maybe suits his skill set. This was going to be quick sort of passes, movement. It's not a game where he's really going to get a whole lot of opportunities to sort of, be one-on-one with the defender and try to beat them. And I think also one thing I got from his game is he is so good he's developed a skill set, a very important skill set for this team, and why I think he's been able to lock down that starting spot. He's very, very good at reading Benteke's put downs, being in the right spot, making that first touch, getting into space.
You're talking about Jared Stroud?
No, I'm talking about Tekudi Pietro.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, he was in the right spot, but even Benteke's heading for that was very strong. Like it was he was a fox in the box. He was doing all that stuff the first half. Great to see. It was wild to imagine that we got points without him on the road, because he's he won again. I think he won 40 something aerial duels or something this game, based on that number is a little high, but not as high, not as far off as you'd think. There is the offense. It seems like a funnel that goes down to him, right? Then when they're cooking on both sides, Click is the connector, not a 10, as everyone was sort of, maybe that's just not. He is the guy. He is the secondary assist man. He can spring the wing backs or the wingers, depending on the formation, and get prime service into Benteke. Jared Stroud, man, he can play a ball. He is. I don't know about the rest of his game, but that particular element, him and Herrera when he's back, like that'll be hard to break up. when you look at the summer and look at other places. I probably would not be where I would look to strengthen too much.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think it looks pretty good, and especially knowing that he could sort of play a right wing back. There are going to be other international breaks that are going to come up, so he did not look out of place in that position. He looked really good. Also, want to give a shout out on the other side to Christian Dajome. I don't think he really gave too much offensively, but what was really solid was he very much kept the team on that St. Louis on that left side, sort of in his pocket, and very much they really didn't have much of an answer. I think there was one moment in particular where the ball comes down the left side, Klaus is going to get on the end of it, and somehow he literally, like, Dajome finds like the right spot, cuts in front, doesn't foul Klaus, and just kind of gets in his way enough, and then is sort of able to shield the ball out of bounds for a goal kick. Just a really heads up play from him. One thing about Benteke too, St. Louis, like, we're basically like, we are going to grab you, we are going to pull you down. It's a little rich coming from St. Louis fans when they talk about, and we'll get a little bit sort of the final minutes of the game, but it's a little rich from St. Louis fans, because I watched that game and literally, like, every time Benteke went up for a header, he was getting grabbed, he was getting pulled, there was a jersey tug on him. I think they actually were not as effective, and I hope it will. There's rumors circulating that, or I think it's now been pretty much confirmed that the PSRA and pro referees have come to an agreement on a tentative agreement, and now it goes to a vote. That'll be at midnight tonight. So by the time you're listening to this tomorrow, we'll probably know whether the PSRA officials will be back. So I'm sure that'll be an interesting moment to whether that happens, because again, it was another really kind of weird and awful day. It feels like there's just one game that you just know is going to be bad. Second goal, I think, again, was again just a again, it was sort of like a carbon copy. This might have been I think this might have been the goal. I think I gave Connor Antley on the first goal. They were both very similar. I have to go back and look at. I know the Stroud had the cross, but I'll have to go back and look at the second goal to figure out whether it was the first or second goal. But the second goal definitely comes from Connor Antley, pass in, nice little flick from Click, and then Jared Stroud crashes the box. St. Louis all out of sorts. Nice little slot pass, and Benteke with the finish. A lot of people have posted, DC. Yes, they got 2 XG, but it came from like both opportunities. And I say, I don't care. That's fine.
How it counts. That is how XG works, man.
Yeah.
Also, Jared Stroud with the arms down celebration on that assist. So that was, you thought that'd be the case. Both he and Bartlett, very good performances here on their return. Chris Durkin looked pretty decent too, from what I saw him as well.
Yeah.
At least in the first half.
No, and the thing about Chris Durkin, he's got a defined role now. I think we all knew last year he was being sort of asked to do things because DC had poor roster build. He gets into St. Louis, they're like, you're a number 6, you're a defensive midfielder, you're a destroyer. That's what you're going to do, and I think it showed.
And now we got Jackson Hopkins playing defensive midfielder. So
yeah, I will say the middle of the field. I don't think there's too much to glean. This was very much like back and forth. It was like both teams countering, both teams pressing. Second half comes out, and DC, I think, were very much trying to just like sit back. They, of course, only had 4 substitutions. They're literally forward field substitutions were Hayden Sargis, who they recalled from Las Vegas. So he cannot be loaned back there, so they can't just send him back.
You're kidding me.
No, apparently that is, according to our next in line friends, that is something that cannot happen.
Boy, I did not realize that's the case. That sucks for him.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's another opportunity out there for him, or
so he can be loaned to another USL championship side.
I'm assuming. I don't know what the stipulations are. I'd have to go back and look or
maybe
read.
Our sources close to Hayden Sargis can DM us again and let us know what the situation is. If you're listening, and I think you probably are, I'd love to know what you know about Hayden Sargis' future.
I mean, it's pretty clear he was in there. I can't imagine it felt good to be like the guy that you're, because Mohamed Yaz went out there on the field. I can't imagine it can feel good to be like literally the guy you do not even want out there. That
right.
You've literally talked about.
Been basically like banned from the team and is only there literally because he has a body with 2 legs, and then you don't make. That's awful, man.
Yeah.
At least a goalie didn't make a field appearance for him. Like that would have been the final indignity.
There were a couple moments, and DC definitely was starting to get some heavy legs, and St. Louis were able to go out and pressure. DC certainly engaging a little bit in the dark arts. I think St. Louis fans are being a little bit over the top with some of this, and the coach also was complaining about sort of the last few minutes. They did get 14 minutes of stoppage time, so I don't really know what else you want. You guys, and I thought Roman Berkey said it best. He's like, look, if we can't score on in the run of play, then we don't really deserve to win. And I think he's absolutely right about that. And they were not effective. I mean, they were missing Lauren, who I think, or Lovren, I think is his name. They're sort of number 10. And so they only have two DPs. It's Klaus and Lovren. Berkey is not a DP. I thought he was, but
which I was told on air during the Patreon interview, and I said that erroneously. So me and you both thought that, and we're both wrong.
Yeah, I thought it was like a big deal when they made him. Maybe he was a DP, but he was at that threshold.
He was never a DP. He is the highest paid goalie in the league at $1.5 million. He's right under the threshold.
Yeah, so he's a TAM level.
Yep,
TAM level goalkeeper. But yeah, I mean, really, other than that, there really wasn't a whole lot of creativity from the St. Louis team. DC basically kept them in their pocket. Yep. They had maybe a couple opportunities. There was an impressive save. Bono did have to come out and make one impressive save. So I'd say there was maybe one opportunity where maybe this game goes as a loss, and maybe we have a little bit of a different avenue of it. The penalty, I think Connor Antley is the one who makes the foul in the PK. It's a tough call. He's at the edge of the box. He's trying to clear it. He misses it. I forget the player who actually recovers it. I'll have to go back and look for St. Louis. But it is a foul at the top of the box. A lot of fans on the DC side were kind of complaining and saying well, he gave advantage. I have to go back and look. I'm not sure if the referee's hands were up. Penalty, fouls in the box do not matter as far as advantage. You can play the advantage, but if it either doesn't materialize or it's a missed shot, you can absolutely go right back and call that PK. So yes, a foul in the field is different. A foul in the field, if they screw the shot up or they get a possession and then it lasts too long and they don't do anything with it, that's fine. Then you don't call the foul back. But fouls in the box, the laws have stipulated that yes, you can allow, if there is a near chance for a goal, you can allow that to continue. If it doesn't materialize, so then you can go back and call the PK. So I think what we saw here was quite clearly the referee was sort of at the edge of the box, probably in real time. The referee's like, I'm not sure it's a foul, but I'm going to let play continue. Shot goes wide. I don't know if DC gets that out quickly. Or I think the ball actually fell to Bono, so it was still in play. And then I think either Bono or Bart, I can't remember who, one player went down, and that's when they went to review. So bit of an unfortunate play. I don't know. I still think it gets reviewed. Ball goes out of play. They're going to take the time to review it. They sound like they had that one pretty well covered. So again, it's an unfortunate play, but I think when you look at what this team had to go through, the shift in formation, the shift in sort of not really maybe a shift in style of play, but certainly had to adjust. I can't be really mad with how they played tonight. They came out. The subs weren't really all that impactful, but again, look at who they had out there. So
let's talk about the run up on the PK, which I feel like they have. I mean, obviously the rule is you must maintain forward motion, but let's be a little bit more prescriptive about that. I feel like.
Well, here's the interesting thing, and this is something that's just coming to my head. So one thing I noticed on the save was Bono was way off his line. If he had saved that, would have gone immediately back and they would have had the PK again. He was a good 5-6 steps off his line on that play. My thought process is to tell Sackers, look, if you do a stutter step, if you do any type of feint or any way to trick the keeper can come off his line and do whatever he wants. Basically, he can go as far up as he wants.
Can he slide out? Can he run out to the spot?
maybe that's a way to clamp down on it. I mean, the real solution here is fouls like that are in the box. That is a play that is probably a 0.01 XG chance or 0.2, maybe 0.15 XG chance. The fact that those plays turn into 0.84, 0.89 XG chances is really just, it's kind of a disservice. I don't think it's ever going to change because I think at the end of the day, it's going to lead to fewer goals, and that's not what FIFA wants. But I would ask you, is that really what you like? These are the goals that you really want, or would you rather have like nicely worked goals? My argument is quality over quantity in this case. So I think they should change it. I think it should be Dogzo fouls only, go to the spot, and everything else in the box is just take the free kick. You can I think you could develop it two ways. You could either do a spot kick right there, direct free kick right there, or you can move it to the edge of the box. Maybe you give that choice to the attacker. And even then you get better free kick goals. Like who doesn't love like a nicely taken free kick goal? So
indeed.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on laws that should change.
I think that there's overall, as we look at this, we talked about looking at what this roster was going to look like and looking at the injuries and suspensions and call-ups and what we could hope to expect. I feel like a 2-2 draw is almost more than we could have expected. A shootout draw was not on odds for us, I think. And I think that, again, this team, the Miami game aside, where they really just tripped all over their own feet at home, it was almost in a trap game, I think, maybe when you have Miami. I know that Michelle on the preview said maybe the team wants a chance to prove they can win without Messi on the field, and we just sort of got caught up in that actually coming to pass for the first time. Mm-hmm. Because then the next week they had the same situation, and New York Red Bulls slapped them around. So clearly, it comes and goes. Ooh. But I think you got to be happy, right? I feel like is this the third road draw of the season so far?
Yeah, third road draw.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you really can't be too upset with. You really can't be too upset with that. This team's needs bodies to come back. They need certain other bodies to take a hike,
to go,
to
somebody's
leave.
in, somebody's out.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll see this team make any moves. It seems to me they're pretty set on the roster. I think we still have like a couple weeks in the window that they could conceivably go out and sign somebody. Again, it would have to be, international slots, and they'd have to figure out a trade. Their cap situation sounds pretty tight. I think we're going to expect them. And right now, I think, if you're Ali Mackay, this is probably more than what you expected coming into this year. The team looks engaged. Why do that? Here's my question for you, though. We're seeing both Mateus Click and Christian Benteke really pay above this.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Why not? I am now fully on the train now. Go ahead, exercise that option here. Have them both here. Have them both take DP slots. If you're up there playing like designated players, why take the risk and go try to find somebody else that can do? I know they are, wrong side of 30, whatever. I really don't care. The U22 problem's out the window now.
Yep.
Like it's all out the window.
Explain
allegedly,
to people.
It's going to happen.
Explain to people what that would mean for that third DP slot.
So basically, if you're wondering, the initial reason that Maddie Peltola was signed as a young designated player is that basically it keeps the U22 initiative slots on, which if I'll be as brief as I can, U22 initiative slots are players under the age of 22. You can pay as much as you want in a transfer fee. They're limited basically, I think, to like the max cap as far as salary, and they take up like $150,000 worth of salary. One of the dumbest things they did with it is you had to have a young designated player or a DP that was like at the like TAM threshold basically to have all three of those slots. Otherwise, I think it dropped down to like 2.
Yep.
So DC did sign Maddie Peltola as a young DP to keep those slots open. This was rumored to go away at the beginning of last year. Apparently now I think MLS got burned a little bit too much on the fact they didn't really make any changes. And so this one, they're kind of going back to like, okay, we'll make this change.
And they're doing it this season. They're doing it mid-season as a decision, which is funny.
Yeah. So it'll be summer window, I think, is when this will take effect basically. So I think is the idea that once the summer window opens, that's when this rule takes effect. I don't know what they do. I don't know if like you designate, Peltola as a young DP, he has to stay there. I don't know if it really matters for this year. You still got those 2 slots anyway. If you find a DP, go out and do it. But now that that's out of the picture, I don't see any reason why, if they continue to play at this level, if they continue to put in the type of performances that we've seen for them, why not give it another run for another year?
I think you definitely could. I think there are 2 players that age is not going to severely take away their talent base. Mm-hmm. I think particularly, Mateus is not super fast right now. It's about his vision and it's about his touch and sort of what he can do with that. And Christian Benteke is not going to become shorter next year.
Nope.
And he's, he is actually pretty quick from a sprint speed perspective. It's acceleration that is his problem. So as long as he doesn't have to do that very often, I absolutely, I think you run it back. The U22 thing aside, I think that is MLS, like legacy MLS, trying to say we know how to spend your money better than you do. Don't sign 3 old fogies and again, they don't actually care from a competitiveness perspective. They just want to be able to sell those players on and get a cut of that transfer fee from a league perspective. So that's why they want to make sure that you don't sign 3 players that you can never sell again. We're not going to be able to sell Benteke or Click at this point. Not a concern, really. I mean, if you can't because of the way the contract's situated, we'd have to give them a 3-year deal to sell them for any sort of money. So that's clearly not going to happen. But yeah, absolutely running back, particularly with the style of play. They seem bought in. They seem energized and engaged. Why wouldn't you not?
Yeah, I'm fully on board. All right, let's get to some.
Before we do that, we got some comments in the chat. I want to make sure we address them. I can't read the name, so I apologize for that. It's blurry on my screen. How long until we can proclaim our summer signings a success? I meant off-season signings a success. And Dave Casper, the worst GM to have ever GM'd in the history of the sport.
I mean, you can't. I mean, now you even look at Connor Antley with that offensive contribution. He led USL. I mean, it's been value all over the place this year.
You look at the entire back line. They're all off-season additions. I would say that Pirani is a strike against because, again, this was stated in a conversation with the supporters groups that Mackay did this on his own, and Casper found out in the newspapers. So I would say we'll see how that. You still have some time for that to turn around, but I would say early results are extremely bad on that one. But it's a U22 slot. It's got a low cap implication. He's a player that you can afford to not play if you have a better option. So as he said, but the back line, I said it before. I don't want to say dumpster dove. He found distressed assets here. He found excess defense in Inter Miami with Chris McVeigh. Lucas Bartlett was a rotational starter for St. Louis. Connor Antley was in USL, and Jared Stroud was put into this position, but was sort of seen as like a MLS auxiliary player, like not really a jobber, but like a guy like MLS tier. He's fine. He's good. He's replaceable. He's a cog. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see what happens this summer window. I think you have some business to do here. You have some dead weight on the team, and if you could replace those with contributing players, you're cooking.
Yeah, and I think again. Yeah, I think there's a lot that's been sort of the step up. I mean, I think Jackson Hopkins looks a little bit better this year. He looks a little more polished. I think, particularly Christian Fletcher coming in. So there's been a lot that's sort of, I think, not to give Dave credit, but there's a lot that I think is sort of emerging this year that there was a good base to build on here. I think
what you should be drawing away from this is what Wayne Rooney is a poor coach.
Oh yeah.
Or was a poor coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No player has gotten worse in this switch over here from the previous year to this. Jackson Hopkins, I don't know that he's a defensive midfielder. I don't know yet really where he nets out. But to your point, he's getting major minutes. He's not looking completely out of place. He's not looking dangerous, but he's not looking really out of place. And that's good. We talked at the beginning of the season that this is a year to evaluate those young players, give them minutes, find out what we're doing. And just like has been advertised, Troy Lesane is able to put these players in position and not have them embarrass themselves at the very minimum, and then have them go to that next level and figure out themselves out. If Ted Cutipietro can stay on the field, he's like a no doubt starter for any game that he's healthy. Which is cool from where he came from.
I'll be curious to see. He did kind of come off. He was limping a little bit, so be curious to see what his health is like. Wasn't anything asked in the press conference about that, but I mean, it seemed to me maybe more precautionary. Hopefully, Stroud's precautionary as well. These guys had a lot of heavy legs, so I'll be curious to see what the lineup looks like coming out of next week. But I think Ted getting back and getting a goal has been big. I want to see certainly more from him this week, and I think pairing him with, I think really we only saw one game where he was paired with Benteke, and this was the only other game because the other time he was injured. So certainly something to watch.
Are you eager to fuel the growth of soccer in the U.S. while showcasing your passion for the sport? Look no further than Pitch Invaders, the ultimate online apparel destination tailored for the soccer community. Based in Arlington, Virginia, Pitch Invaders offers a dynamic range of casual and athletic gear designed to let you express your love for the game, both on and off the pitch. But Pitch Invaders isn't just about trendy merch, it's a movement. They proudly partner with local soccer clubs and associations, actively contributing to the growth and expansion of the sport across the U.S. Community is at the heart of everything that they do. As a special treat for our podcast listeners, use code VAMOS for an exclusive 15% discount on all purchases at pitchinvadersusa.com. By supporting Pitch Invaders, you're not just showing your love for soccer, you're also backing a brand committed to fostering community and making a difference in the sport. Don't miss out on this opportunity to rep your love for soccer, support the community, and look absolutely fantastic while doing it. Visit pitchinvadersusa.com today and join us in proclaiming that the pitch is for the people.
Go ahead.
We got questions that are DC United related. Do you want me to hold on those?
Hold on a little bit. Let's talk. Let's do a little bit of a light preview. DC, of course, have Montreal coming up. By the way, so we do talk about result. We do talk about the results. The vibes are good. The results. This team still hasn't won a game since the opener, and that is not a fair sit. Now they've had a extremely tough schedule. I think to start. It's been going cross country to Portland, then away to Cincinnati, and then having to welcome, I know the Inter Miami didn't look good against New York. I think this was the classic. I don't know if you remember the game. I think it was 2012 when Thierry Henry and Red Bulls came to DC at RFK and just looked miserable the entire time. And Chris Pontius had a hat trick. That was the kind of vibe I felt from this game. But the Red Bulls were the ones that were up for it. And Inter Miami and Luis Suarez gets out there and he's I would just want to go back and I don't really want to play. So people look at that and they might say, well, wow, look, maybe Miami isn't as good without Messi. Maybe we're, but I think that was more of a case of Inter Miami there is sometimes you go into weeks and it's just you just don't even want to play. The weather was bad. They clearly didn't want to be there. But it's still it's the game against Miami, incredibly tough. And then to have this game on the road in St. Louis, incredible atmosphere, incredible crowd with the sort of bench deficiencies that they had, they've navigated extremely well. Now I think you are getting into, okay, now is this a team that can compete? Can they get results that they need? This is a Montreal team coming up next week that is organized, very organized. I watched a little bit of the game against Chicago. They want to sit back. They are going to play, if you saw what the US and Jamaica game, basically this is what Montreal are going to do. In this case, Montreal being Jamaica. They are going to sit back. They're going to absorb pressure. They're going to try to hit on the break. Ruan is out there, definitely flying down that sort of right side. This is a Montreal team that is not, certainly even less, I would say less talent pound for pound than what was in St. Louis. They have Bryce Duke. I think they maybe have one or two designated players, but they're a team that has a less wow factor than St. Louis. But they are very well coached. I think you kind of have two methods you can do when you have a team that is maybe talent deficient. You can either press them to death, or you can sort of bunker and try to stay organized. And Montreal have taken that approach. They had a pretty good start to the year. They beat Miami, I believe, on the road. That was sort of in the middle of their CONCACAF Champions League run, so they definitely took advantage of that. But I think this is a game that DC should be. DC should be the better team out there. I think if they hit them hard, if they go quick, I think they showed a lot of susceptibility over the top. I believe certainly Chicago's first goal came sort of over the top. Find Benteke over the top, win the ball, and try to play quickly, and I think you can break him down. Where Chicago really struggled was anytime they sort of held up play, or they didn't attack, or they didn't go quickly. That is where they ran into trouble. But this will be a very, very much an organized team. I think DC will be the better side. They should be favored. And this is a game I think you got to go out and I'm not going to say it's a must win this early in the year. But I think there is an effort to me. It's okay, now, we're liking the result. We're liking what we're seeing. Now let's see some big results for this team. So
Joseph Martinez is a half game player now at this point. Every game this season, he's been a 45-minute player. So something to keep in mind. As you look through this roster, nothing really going to wow you here. Raheem Edwards, Ruan, it's not It's not quite it. The days of Didier Drogba are in the mirror. Watch for Piet to injure one of our players. That is sort of what he has done every single time he's played here. So watch for that. We're going to have some questions into one of the person that covers this team, mostly because I want to hear his thoughts on the legacy of our former coach there. Just see sort of what people, what fans thought about that whole experience, brief as it was. But I think, to your point, not necessarily a must win, but I think you want to put a better home performance together than you did against Inter Miami. And are the players that were on international duty going to be back this weekend, or are
yes,
they going to be short-handed? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep.
They will be.
Well, that's
they should be in good, I think, a good form. I think Guatemala, I think, played Ecuador. Like, Guatemala just had a couple friendlies, so not hugely intense. The only thing Finland had was a UEFA. Yeah, I mean, he might have I kind of wondered maybe whether they might rush Petzela back, but maybe there were some things with the camp. But he basically had one game. The U19 guys should be back. I think they'll be wrapping up. I think they only had a couple games on their tour, so they should be back. Those being Matej Akambone and Christian Fletcher. So hopefully should have a full complement of a roster. So
Maddie went 90 minutes in that game against Wales and got a 5.5 on. I know you hate FootMob, but appeared to play left back.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Did not have a great statistical evening, it appears, but that's fine. Come back healthy. So Jackson Hopkins does not play defensive midfielder anymore.
Yeah.
You want to get to the questions now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Richard Rolson says, do you think that we see more of Mojazi now that he's been played, or do we see more of Christian Dajome at the left wing spot since he showed defensive chops?
Yeah, I'm Dajome. I'm on Dajome at this point.
Probably Dajome. I mean, to be honest with you, like, he can't finish, so that's fine. You're not losing anything by not having him close to the goal. And if he can do what he did in this game, then yeah, for sure. I think Diaz is just a man on borrowed time here, clearly.
Yeah. Because
it would be one thing if Troy came out in the press and said, like, here's what's going on. And, we're gonna figure this out and get to a solution together because, I want this player here. But that's not what's happening.
No.
And we were talking about in the press box for the Spirit game, like, when are we going to find this out? And I think the answer is never. They have locked this down. No one knows what the hell this was. Mm-hmm. He's just going to go, and that's going to be it.
I think I hear something someone posted on Reddit that he's like already like moving his stuff out.
Someone posted that they live in his apartment building and he sold his Roomba and some other products for his home. So maybe he just doesn't care about dust anymore, and maybe he's actually going to stay. But it seems like he's going to go.
Yeah, it seems like that. Those are maybe some telltale signs. Also, I mean, let's not forget, Santos was out for this game. Yes, he picked up the red card, but I think he has cleaned up a lot of his game, and he has still been really excellent out there. But having Dajome out there as an option, I think is certainly something good.
To have a result, a draw done with the amount of roster combobulation that occurred here. Again, I just keep going back to it and think how great that is. Wayne Rooney could never. There's 0% chance. Show fave Brendan Cartwright says, our bench was kind of artificially short this week, but with Sargis and Garay loaned out mostly, DC has 25 players and 4 of them have had long-term injuries and 2 are persona non grata. Lasane's style demands a frenetic pace and DC leads the league in fouls. Is burnout ahead?
I don't know if I agree with that. It's a frenetic pace. I think it is a much more controlled. They have shown an ability that they can slow the game down and try to control it. I think.
Are they as good at that though?
I mean, St. Louis, I think it was maybe forced upon them a little bit. But this is not a team I don't think that is. And, also, I think I go back to Benteke's quotes where he was like, look, like, if I have to go out there and all I'm doing is just maybe running like, 5 or 10, like, quick 30-second sprints, to get the ball and get in position. That's a little bit easier than trying to maintain like, 60, 70 minutes of running. So I think their press is not Red Bull style. They look to win the ball in the middle. That is where they want their middle. They want basically to shovel the ball into the middle where they can have either McVay, Bartlett, Click, Petzela, win the ball in the middle, quickly transition outward. It's not a style where I think you saw from Hernan, where it was like all out press, like every single, like, all out press. It was like there was a little bit more of a controlled aspect to it. And I think they showed some ability. I think in that Inter Miami game, if they didn't bring on Luis Suarez, I think they did show some ability to still generate some chances, moving the ball a little bit slower and not being so frenetic in the attack.
Is a zonal press a thing? Is that a real thing? Because it feels like that's what they do. It feels like what they do is that players are not doing cross-field press overloads to win the ball over. They have their zone, they have their sphere of influence, and based on what they want to do. And to your point, usually it's the forwards do press, but they don't. That's not really where the turnovers occur. They just want to create. They want to speed up the passing a little bit and maybe force something to the middle of the field where they can win the ball, where they have ball winners. So yeah, I think I don't necessarily think, to your point, I don't think that it is inherently challenging to the physical aspects of the team. I think that I think they're healthy for now, for the most part, knock on wood. We have talked about those 4 long-term injuries, but if that number increases more, that's something else you want to think about. But I think we're in a decent spot. I think that if those long-term injuries do not ever get better, they're definitely going to have to sign some more bodies in the summer, even if it's just at the Connor Antley tier, like cherry pick some USL top players and go that way.
Yeah, Richard Rolson asking, played 5 games, biggest need for this team to address in the summer. I think left wing back clearly, I think is where this team has numerous holes to fill. Center midfield would be another. I think this team needs, maybe, Russell Canouse is great. If Jackson Hopkins is not, I thought he had maybe been sort of identified maybe as that sort of click backup number 8. I think you're going to need something out there. Also, you look at, I think a lot of it's going to depend, is Martin Rodriguez, out there on the right, or is he your backup Bronny number 10? Or, I think this is going to be about, I think maybe you're looking maybe one more offensive piece, because right now, like the salary imbalance you have right now is pretty bad out there. So
yeah, if you look at players who are non-functional or non-featured, either not healthy or not chosen, it's got to be like close to a third of the salary, the budgeted salary.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that's clearly not what you want.
I would say so. I mean, I think we know Yas is like what, on 700,000. I think, it's probably 2 million. It's probably at least $1.8 million to $2 million worth of the cap is being sucked by 2 players that maybe have gotten a combined 40 minutes out there.
You've got Birnbaum, and you've got Birnbaum not playing, which is another big salary component. Canouse is on a very, very continuously affordable contract, however, not yet playing. I think this team's I think he'll look great. I think he will look so good in this team if he can get healthy. But yeah, I would like to see, like Ted, left back. I would like to see a number 10. I would like to see a left winger. I think defensive midfield, you could probably scrounge enough to create your own depth there with the players that they have that are versatile. There's a couple players that are, but comfortable in the back line, but also could play a 6 in a pinch. Click being injured, knock on wood, would be a pretty bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, any DP getting injured would be a bad thing.
But both, ours, like, we don't have that next. Jacob Merle does not necessarily look like he's MLS ready yet, and I think we could probably scrounge a little bit and figure out what to do with Click if he wasn't out. But Benteke would be longer than the 2 games that he was out. If it's an extended streak, you're really playing with fire at that point.
Yeah, I would also want to add. By the way, I really just love Click because that dude is just like, it just always amazes me how much he is just kind of a master shithouser. Like, I think there was a moment when, obviously St. Louis want to move fast and he kind of runs to the end line. Like he's going to be the one that take a throw in, and the coach throws him the ball and he just kind of keeps running around and just literally like the ball just rolls off. And I just laughed at those types of moments because he is just such a, he sells it so well in some cases. Like, it's incredible.
He enjoys that, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's renowned for it, and he does not seem to hate it.
Yeah. So I would hate him if he was on any other team, but I absolutely love him here in DC. He's fast becoming one of my favorite players, and I'm glad I got his jersey last year. So good odds on that. I didn't know if I'd made the right choice, but
I didn't know you had it. That's good. Yeah, that is a good decision.
My cherry blossom kit is Click. So he got the goal, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna Everybody on the everybody was talking how Leeds fans were all talking about how great he was. Like, all right, I'll make the choice, and I wasn't sure I made the right call, but now this year I'm pretty sure I did it. All right, we're gonna shift gears a little bit. Let's talk some Washington Spirit and a win, an emphatic win, and I think a game. I guess the best way I can describe it is it was probably the best thing to see after like how bad things looked last week. This was a nice bit of fresh air and like a bit of like relaxing. Like, okay, maybe things are okay. Maybe we're completely wrong. Maybe Mark Krikorian is 100% white. 100% right.
It was like the yin yang symbol of two games that they could be. We'll get started sort of looking at the lineups here. I think there were not too many surprises at all. I think the only change was Trinity Rodman coming in for Brittany Radcliffe, which I think everyone would have assumed would be the case. Aubrey Kingsbury, obviously, her Perry Mason lawyering got her back onto the field, got her red card overturned. I had not seen much of this Bay. I didn't get to watch their first game ahead of time. Oshoala is just a dominating player, and is like a terror. She, in the first 25 minutes, I assumed she was going to score 3 or 4 goals by the end of the night. She was just plowing through our center backs. There was a situation where the team was being exposed in the middle. So basically what would happen is Bay FC would get the ball into their midfield. They break one Spirit line, and center backs would get pulled out of direction by good runs, either decoy or intentional by Bay FC, and they would slot the ball in or diagonally get the ball over the center backs and create problems for the Spirit. There was it did not look like it was going to go well. Obviously, that Dorian Bailey got the first goal. Somebody was in the press box saying, "Where was this Dorian Bailey last year?" And I was like, "Right back for some reason is where she was." She was really kind of causing problems for everybody. Andy got megged by Dorian at one point. She would look like a very motivated player. She looked very happy to celebrate that goal, by the way. The antithesis of the Jared Stroud celebrations, like double hands raised. She didn't quite do the Amber Brooks double bird, but it was an implied double bird. But I think it was sort of a punch in the mouth at the beginning of the game. It was kind of thinking, all right, this is going to be a continuation of the rain game. They don't have their offensive house sorted. But then Trinity Rodman, we remember that she was there, and she was able to continually create opportunities on her wing. It's funny how much everyone talks about her ability on the dribble, her dangerous runs near the box. She is a wonderful facilitator. I think she can basically pick up Ashley Sanchez's duties in that regard, as well as sort of do what she needs to do. I think it'll be better on her legs over the course of the season to be able to do that, not to suffer so many fouls running in on the goal over and over again and just getting hacked to pieces because people have known in the past that's the way to do it. But again, the story continues to be the rookies. In the first game, we said these rookies looked unprepared. For the most part, Hal Hirschfeld looked pretty good in that the rain game, but overall, we're saying this roster is too thin. I don't understand it. I don't understand how they think they're going to make a run anywhere near the playoffs, or is this a full rebuild year? In which case, we're not being sold that at all. But Hal Hirschfeld. Well, I'm sure you've seen the goal by this point now. But Trinity Rodman, I think it's Tara McKeown to Trinity Rodman, or no, it was Saar to Rodman to Hirschfeld. She takes one small touch and then releases a curler under the far side of the box in no time at all. Just was super confident, belying her experience level as a player. Brought the game right back into play. And honestly, from then on, the XG plot shows it too. It was all the Spirits game from that point on. They didn't really suffer much after that. They put the Bay forwards in a box. They were not dangerous. Castellanos was kind of dangerous, but she came off, I think, in the 60th minute. We were kind of figuring out why that they did that. Or maybe did she stay on the whole game? No, yeah, Castellanos stayed the whole game. But I don't have the stats in front of me. Anyway, The whole second half, I think, was the story kind of continued. Corey Bethune hit the crossbar. Numerous opportunities flowed that way, but Croy obviously is able to convert another opportunity. I think it's Tara McKeown to Ashley Hatch. Ashley Hatch flicks the ball on to Croy. Croy calmly slots in stoppage time. Pandemonium ensues. Spirit win. Earned. Well earned.
Yeah, well earned.
Adrian Gonzalez in the postgame was like, yeah, this was what was supposed to happen. We would have been hard done if we weren't able to finish this off. So I think that's something really, really good to look at from the Spirit. They were able to get their just desserts.
Yeah, and I think I just wanted to add, I think having Trinity Rodman back really just sort of showed, just right off the bat. I mean, I know it was the first minute, maybe so, but just seeing her kind of be on the ball, I think she broke a couple players, like slots the ball over to Sar. Sar is unable to do much with it, but just sort of seeing that right off the bat, I was like, yeah, I forget how much of a difference I feel like she makes this team, and I feel like having her out there helps the rookies. They see that initiative. They're still trying to get their feet wet. They're still trying to figure things out, especially Bethune. Having a player who's like, come with me, let's, we're gonna take this. I think really did a lot for her game. I think it also gave her some more space. She didn't have to be she can kind of sort of develop, learn from her, and not have to be sort of the centerpiece that I think maybe she was in the Reign game. And I think that's why she struggled a little bit, to sort of have another player that also players are going to gravitate towards trying to stop Trinity Rodman, because I mean, she's effectively the best player out there on the field for the Spirit, that it's going to give options for Hirschfeld, for Bethune to sort of, contribute to the attack. Yeah.
Some things to point out. Casey Kruger potentially has a facial injury.
That was really bad.
A fracture. Face to face with Hal Hirschfeld, who's not the player I'd want to run into. She was not having a very good match. I think up to that point, she had a couple good attacks, but she was getting pretty well worked on her wing. They were kind of concentrating on that side. But also Gabby Carl they just were going at the outside backs. That was sort of the area that they were targeting.
Yeah.
Something to watch there.
And Halfordy.
And Halfordy makes a return after a long time off. I want to make sure, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you heard her brief remarks in the mix zone. I'm going to start putting those out every game, every Spirit home game. I'll have the raw audio out for just our Patreon. So if that's something you like, patreon.com/RFK Refugees. She had her moments. I think that her first touch off the field, right first time the ball gets to her, she handles it very deftly along the sideline. I didn't see the thing you were talking about. My head was down. What was the thing where she almost
I think she got the ball and she sort of plays a pass backwards, and I believe it's the big attacker for, I can't remember her name right now, she like literally passes it right into her feet. The big attacker for Bay FC who I think you said was
Ashawala.
Yeah, yep. Ashawala passes it right to Ashawala, and very nearly, and they recover nicely from it. But she was definitely, I think she was the one to make that pass. I'll have to go back and find it. But I saw that, and that I was watching the game, and I was like, ooh, this might be a little rough. She might be a little bit, she's trying to readjust and get back up to game speed. But then I thought, like you saw, I think once the game sort of developed, once she got a little bit more comfortable, the game started to come back to her, and I started to see the player that we saw before she got injured. So I became a little less worried about that.
And it's funny, right? Because when she came into the league and a college player, she was further up the field. She was a winger.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it was Richie Burke that put her back there. And she's done well back there, I think. So the other thing I was going to talk about is that this team is built from a Barcelona ethos of everyone's going to play with the ball. Positions are nice, but positions are fungible. Positions are flowing. We're going to change and move in different places. Where that's most visible is the attacking three. Ashley Hatch played left wing most of the game.
Mm-hmm.
She started in the 9. They moved Sar there. Sar could not get engaged on the left wing. She is not a winger. She is a 9. She is not a creative player in that way with off the dribble. She can definitely, when she's in and around the box, she's dangerous, but she has not figured out a way to work well with the service that she gets here. So it's going to be continuing to be a challenge about what is this formation going to be up front? How do they get the best use of them? Because there's also players coming in that are going to play in one of those 3 spots. So I think Sar's days as a starter may be slightly concerned for. She might be concerned about that. Brittany Ratcliffe as well. I think if you are in a situation where you have Ratcliffe and Sarr as your offensive players off the bench, or in a rotational perspective, and you have the player from a Colombian player. What's her name? Do you have it?
Leicy Santos, who we're going to get into a little bit, but
so I think once you have a player like that, and those two experienced forwards are there, and a rotational option, or when there's an international duty for Robin or Hatch, and you have to keep rolling, that's good. You needed another player there. You're not set there. Brittany Ratcliffe's not going to do that for you, I don't think. So I think that it'll be interesting to watch how these players move into different spots. Gabby Carl played right back. She'd been a left back all last season, and for Canada in the international perspective, this is intentional. This is what they want to do. The last thing I want to point out is I brought it up on our interview with Andy Sullivan a couple weeks ago, saying, "Hey, are you guys going to do that dumb thing where Kingsbury has the ball in the 6 and you have your two center backs also on the 6, and then you pass it sideways and then end up having to kick the ball out of bounds because you've made bad passes?" And Andy was like, "Yeah, we're going to keep doing that basically." And they are keeping doing it. And I still do not understand that they're stubbornly saying that this is going to be the thing we're going to do and it's going to come good. It did not come good last year. I don't think it's the players that are at issue. I just do not think that, I tweeted about it. The speed is super essential in that situation to work, right? If you are saying I'm going to set up my line of engagement at my own 6, we're going to play it short, we're going to draw those forwards up, we're going to move midfielders out of position to be able to break lines with our midfield, and then have basically, and it's not a term in soccer, but an odd man rush basically because of that decision. We've beaten one player close to our goal and we're able to break that off. If you don't do it right, you have given them the ball much closer to goal, or you have put the ball out to touch, which is what happens most of the time under the system, where they have an opportunity to get a similar situation that you were trying to go for. They've got an opportunity to quickly get the ball and play. I don't think it's worth it. They talked about potentially bringing the forwards closer, so not sitting on the other side of the end line and maybe playing an intermediate ball and not a short pass to one of the center backs. I think that's safer. I think depending on, your ability to win the ball up there, maybe if they could find a Christian Benteke analog, then that's certainly the good move to do. They don't have one yet, but it's very frustrating to watch. They're not going to change. What do I know? I'm not a manager. I just know that if you roll back the tape of every time they've tried this, 60% of the time they end up kicking the ball out of the bounds, right in their own end almost every time. It's just drives me crazy. Yeah. That's all I'll say about that. I'll stop talking about it. I was wrong on starting three rookies, so I'll probably be wrong about this.
Yeah. Again, one game, so there's still some time, but I think this was a game that was important to reinforce that, hey, it's not going to be rain every week with 0.04 XG. And I have to go back and look at my tweet. I think they had it was close. It was 1.5 XG this time. So certainly a lot better. And they certainly deserve it. But again, great goal from Bethane. Great way to sort of to wrap it up. And I think you gave a good summary of what there. And it's great to have you at these games and covering it. So
thank you. Yeah, Croy is really a confident player. She's not Ashley Sanchez yet. I don't think that's really where she's at. She runs more. She'll play defense. So I think that's going to be really to her benefit. She's small. It doesn't seem to affect her that much, but she is very talkative on the field. You can see that they all are. I think that's been Andy Sullivan talks about how talkative she is on the field, and she likes when players are like that as well because it's better communication.
I know Sanchez got a goal, but
good goal too. Saucy.
Very saucy goal. I am a little bit more. I left that game. I'm being a little bit more impressed. I am a little more impressed with Bethune. Just seeing where she is, and yes, maybe it's not all there yet, but I feel like just her ability on the dribble, her ability on the ball, maybe is slightly above what Sanchez was. And maybe I'm just going based off last year. I felt a lot of times, dribbling just wasn't working for her, and she was good when she got sort of on the run and into space, and she could sort of play a pass, but she couldn't really do that. And I saw a lot of aspects of what Bethune brought that really made me impressed. And I think also maybe the coaching situation that the Spirit had last year maybe impacted Sanchez in sort of her abilities. And I think maybe this coach coming in This seems like very deliberate from Mark Krikorian to bring in the type of coach that they're looking for to maybe, build those types of qualities in her and make her a better soccer player. So I'm excited. I'm excited after this game for what we can see from her.
And, I was originally going to say, and I think a lot of fans still say, but what about Sam Staub? That one still hurts. It does still hurt. We haven't really solved that problem at center back. But remember that you got Hal Hirschfeld and Corey Bethune because you had those 2 extra first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
So can you continue to keep that in mind? I still think center back is an area that they could strengthen. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. The summer's not done. They've got available roster spots. I don't know what they have on the salary cap side, but they've got roster spots. So keep that in mind.
They will have one available international roster spot because they've filled. They were on 2 and now they were on 1 because they have signed Leicy Santos, who we teased a little bit earlier in the show. I believe Meg Linehan, reporting for The Athletic, Mark Krikorian has teased that there is a player coming in the coming days, and this, maybe there's another player, but this looks to be the player. This was a move when it happened. If you haven't checked it, go search Leicy Santos Colombia goal against England, and you will see a very impressive shot, almost similar to Hal Hirschfeld's goal. Like I actually watched it. I watched Hal and like, oh, that's like what Leicy Santos scored against England. I don't think we've had the Liga F, the Liga, I think it's called Liga Feminel. They call it Liga F, the Spanish league. She currently plays for Atletico Madrid. But be on the lookout. There might be a piece coming up where I'll be able to watch some games and give some analysis on her.
Also, I want to call out there are players that are not making the bench to keep an eye on. We asked, I think Thomas Floyd asked, I was going to ask about Paige Pantayer, who I saw in street clothes in the tunnel and not on the bench after being on the bench last week. She had an injury that she's not 100% recovering from, so that's that going on there. Riley Tanner has not featured. Savannah Coleman has a season-ending injury. She will not be featuring. We talked about that when she was signed, when she was on her 3rd ACL or 4th ACL already at that time. Kate Wiesner was recovering from injury, and Lena Solano has yet to make a bench. So there are still some players that are familiar that you might see. When you were talking about the roster spots available, I was wondering where we're losing a lot of them. Chloe Ricketts, on you substitute on the bench. So there are still some players that you want to see. There'll be plenty of games, folks. There's going to be summer tournaments that we're potentially in.
Mm-hmm.
We are in. I think they already give those release those dates, right?
Yeah, the Liga. Well, actually, yeah. We almost forgot about that. I wanted to sort of close a little bit on Leicy Santos before you started talking about other players. Numbers love her. In midfielders on FB Ref. One thing that sticks out for me: 93 percentile in shot creating actions.
Love that.
At her time. Progressive passes 91st percent. Progressive carries 92%. Just looks like this is the type of player where you see that FB Ref report and it's like all green except for the defensive part. So
where does she play? Like where in the midfield does she frequently play? Is that listed on her?
It is not listed. She's definitely listed as a midfielder. Certainly a more attacking sort of advanced midfielder. You compare her to the attacking mids and it kind of drops down a little bit. Her pass completion is still like 92%. And her progressive passes are 97th percentile. Shot creating actions drops down a little bit to 69. That's to be expected when you're, maybe playing a little bit deeper in certain aspects. I'm definitely, like I said, guys, I will definitely be checking out some games. I will probably have a full scouting report just like I did for Maddie Petola. I'm not really rushed in this because, we got till
some
June.
time.
Got some time till she arrives here, but I'm really, really excited. This was like the type of move where I'm like, I immediately like looked at this and these numbers and I'm like, this is a player that you bring in and I'm like, this is like an immediate, like based on numbers. Again, I haven't like watched, so I do need to watch, but like immediately I'm like, this is like a better replacement for Ashley Sanchez. So if this player comes in and delivers as the numbers seem to say, it's definitely a player I'm super excited about. And definitely you've totally redeemed yourself, Mark, for me in this sense.
I think if I'm looking at this roster and trying to figure out what they can do, I think you probably have to change formations to accommodate that. I think you would probably not go with 2 wingers anymore. I think particularly if she's not a forward player, I think you probably go with a Rodman Hatch combination up top, or maybe just a single forward up top and move Rodman to the midfield as well. It's a bit of a crowded situation. The players have shown themselves pretty well. They're going to need rotation still, it's a good problem to have. I was just sort of figuring that. Sar is a player that looks to be maybe one of the players left out, but then I don't know that Leicy Santos could fill in the left wing. I don't think that necessarily is her. But Adrian Gonzalez wants everybody to play everywhere, so who knows? Maybe that's where she'll go.
Maybe some trial. This is definitely, though, I think a great pickup for the team, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what she can bring.
Yep.
So this was needed. I think it was, having the signings pan out is good, but I was like, we've been talking about this team making a big splash, making a big signing. They really haven't done that. They really haven't done that this year. So this was good to see that they are, and it gives you hope that there is a plan coming up for this team.
You've got Utah Royals coming in this Sunday on Easter. Interesting team to play against. I posted about it in my wrap up, which you should check out either on Patreon, which is where I encourage you to check it out, either as a free or a paid user, or our website. They beat North Carolina Courage 2-1 in a statistically insane game where North Carolina had 67% possession, 17-2 on shots, 3-2 on shots on target, 4-1 on big chances. 84% on passing to 70%, and still lost the game 2-1 to Utah. So they are a team that does not need the ball, which is the opposite of what the Spirit are trying to do, which is to have the ball all of the time, and then also press. So it will be very interesting to see how this pans out. Historically, the Spirit do not play well against Utah, but this is a new Utah, so hard to say really what that's going to be about. And I'm interested to see what injury situation. Is Casey Kruger eligible to play immediately from the start, or is Anna Halford going to have to play 90 minutes in her second game back?
Is she going to have like the face mask?
I immediately said it's Zorro time for Casey Kruger.
Let's also talk a little bit. There's something aside of news. We have a new cup competition between Liga MX and Liga MX Feminel and NWSL. They've announced they're calling it the NWSL-Liga MX Feminel Summer Cup 2024. That is a mouthful.
They gotta have to shorten that.
They have to shorten that. There will be 16 teams. All teams from the NWSL will be participating, and I believe it is 20 teams. I believe it's 14 from NWSL, and then I think 6 from Liga MX will be participating. Washington Spirit are in a group with NYCFC Gotham, Chicago Red Stars, and Chivas de Guadalajara. Great tournament. Love the fact that this is a thing. I think feels maybe a little bit different from the what we've seen with the with the on the men's side with the Leagues Cup. I think I think this is something that has been necessary. This will take place during the Olympics, I believe. I believe this is like right in the smack dab in the middle of the Olympics. So I like this better. I like this better as a leagues. If this is like, you're going to have a summer tournament, why not do something like this that's a little more fun and interesting than just...
It solves the problem of having Challenge Cup games where you're playing Utah against Racing Louisville on a Wednesday or whatever craziness, and be like, why is no one watching this? I don't understand. I think that it's great that DC, that the Spirit have, in my head now, thanks, has Gotham as a group member during the Olympics, because they're about to be hollowed out.
Oh, yeah.
And who was the other? Chicago is the other one?
It was
Red Stars, I believe.
Yeah, Red Stars and
See you later, Malpew. See you later, Tierna Davidson. Have fun in the Olympics. Or what's the age limit in the Olympics? Is it the same as on the men's side where you have to be?
No. Women's is full teams.
Bye. See ya. Adios. Although the spirit will be in some way impacted. Although the turnover since the new regime has been in place, it seems to just be Trinity being the player that gets called in.
Yeah, maybe if Kingsbury shows well, she makes the roster. The big problem with the Olympic roster is that it is limited to 18 players. You are severely limited in who you can call in. So literally, I think you can only you would just call in like 2 goalkeepers.
Yeah, you're not the spot there.
Yeah, so Kingsbury, maybe she makes the roster, but I think she maybe is on the outside looking in. I think I would not be surprised if it's just Trinity Rodman and maybe Gabby Carl, because but Gabby Carl, I think even is sort of kind of on the fringes for the Canadian side as well. I think she was like a last minute replacement, if I recall correctly.
In the World Cup, she was.
Yeah. So, might be a little bit of an easier time during the break, but great idea, great tournament, bad execution. So there are 5 groups, and there will be 4 of the 5 group winners will make it to the next round. So even if you win your group, you are not guaranteed to actually make it to the next round.
Is it goal differential? What's the thing that keeps you?
They haven't made it here. Like, I don't understand. Make it 5. If you want to make it the group winners, fine. Do 5 teams, then seed it however who does well. It's not completely fair, I'm sure, but at least it's a little bit better. Have a 4v5, something. Like, I get this thing is kind of a new thing. I'm sure I'm hopeful, at least. I'm hopeful it's going to get better. Something different. There is also the Champions League, which is coming up again this year as well.
The Champions Cup is going to happen again for the women.
Yeah, the CONCACAF. It's 2024, I think, it's going to be late in August. It's not going to be as expansive, but we talked about this. We asked,
and she said, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't even aware this is happening. So
I thought we were talking about the leagues, the league.
Nope.
Ladies
So CONCACAF is doing a CONCACAF Champions Cup, and this is a whole separate entity. Apparently, I think I read during discussions where they wanted to do like basically what Leagues Cup is on the men's side, which is every NWSL, every Liga MX team in there. I think maybe just the time frame and the planning didn't work out. So this thing is going to be different. It's going to be a little bit, hopefully a little bit better. But I'm still excited about it. I think it'll be a fun tournament to watch.
I'll watch them. I'll be there.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. A lot of good teams in Liga MX. Club America, Tigres are probably the 2 big powerhouses. Monterrey also really big powerhouse. Chivas are kind of maybe on the fringe, but still kind of developing. But so I think as far as the Mexican teams that the Spirit could have drawn, favorable, I would say, favorable compared to having Tigres in your group, who I think have won the Liga MX Feminel like 5-6 years in a row or something like that. So anyway, a lot of fun. I think it replaces. I'm all for replacing sort of the International Champions Cup,
the friendlies thing. Yeah, who cares?
Yeah. So all right, I think that's going to do it. A little bit of a long show, but we had a lot of stuff to cover.
Yeah, the Spirit have the Utah coming up on the 30 on Sunday, and then they don't play till the 12th, and that's against Houston away. So I think the Spirit could get moving here. I think it's very much in the air. They've got a lot more. They look a different team than Seattle. So hopefully that continues. And if you're local, DC's home on Saturday, right?
Yes.
So you've got a possibility to do the craziest thing ever and spend your whole weekend at Audi Field if you're a listener and have nothing else to do on Easter weekend.
Yes, absolutely.
Come say hi on Sunday.
Come say hi. Take advantage of those. I really hope if there's ever a doubleheader, I will definitely do that. And also enjoy the field next week because the DC Defenders are starting April 7th. So the field's not going to quite look the same until that season ends. All right, folks, I think that's going to do it. Again, patreon.com/RFK Refugees. We're really trying to get the content going. We'll have some preview content coming out. We're going to also try to push that, I think, to Patreon as well. So definitely check
a Hal Hirschfeld interview later this week.
Yes, absolutely.
Goal scorer, rookie extraordinaire.
Yep, absolutely. All right, thank you guys so much for listening. We will catch you guys next week. Vamos.